In the long and bloody history of crime, there are heists. And then there's the story of Colonel Blood. Imagine this. You're caught trying to steal the crown jewels of England. You're nabbed red-handed, with the royal orb literally stuffed down your pants and the king's crown hammered flat and hidden under your cloak. The punishment for high treason like this was a guaranteed gruesome death. But instead of the executioner's block, the thief got a full royal pardon and a hefty reward from the king himself. This is the unbelievable true story of Colonel Blood, the man who tried to steal the crown and somehow came out a winner. Chapter 1. The Man Before the Myth. So, how does a guy commit the ultimate crime and just walk away richer and more famous than before? To get it, you have to get the man. Thomas Blood was born in Ireland around 1618, the son of a successful blacksmith and landowner in an age of total chaos. He was on track for a comfortable life, but then the English Civil War kicked off in 1642 and changed everything. Blood initially fought for King Charles I and the Royalists, but above all else, Thomas Blood was a pragmatist. When he saw the war wasn't going the king's way, he just switched sides. He joined up with Oliver Cromwell's forces, and it paid off big time. When the war was over, Cromwell rewarded the newly self-appointed Colonel Blood with huge estates in Ireland and a job as a justice of the peace. For a little while, Blood was a man of power, wealth, and influence. But the winds of fortune were about to change direction again. Chapter 2. A Traitor's Fortune Reversed. In 1660, the monarchy was back. King Charles II, the son of the king Blood had fought against, was on the throne. For guys like Thomas Blood, who'd backed Cromwell, this was a complete disaster. A new law stripped many of Cromwell's supporters of their land, and just like that, Blood was financially ruined. His estates were taken away, leaving him broke, bitter, and furious. And a ruined man with military training and a rebellious streak? That's a dangerous combination. Blood put his anger to use, cooking up wild plots against the state. In 1663, he hatched a plan to storm Dublin Castle and kidnap the king's man in Ireland, the powerful Duke of Ormond. The plot was discovered at the last minute and Blood's friends were rounded up and executed. But Blood himself? He vanished, escaping to Holland and becoming one of the most wanted men in the kingdom. Lying low, however, was not his style. By 1670, despite having a price on his head, he was back in England, living under a fake name and brazenly working as a doctor in Rumford, just outside London. And he was still fuming about the Duke of Ormond. That same year, he made a second attempt on the Duke's life, right in the middle of London. Blood and his crew dragged Ormond from his coach in Piccadilly, planning to haul him to the public gallows and hang him like a common criminal. The Duke fought back frantically and managed to escape. And again, Blood just melted away into the night, his identity still a secret. He'd failed twice, but his ambition was only getting bigger. He had nothing left to lose, and now he was aiming for the biggest prize of all. Chapter 3. The Ultimate Heist, the Long Con. In 1671, Colonel Blood decided he was going after the crown jewels. After Oliver Cromwell had melted down the original medieval regalia, a stunning new set was made for King Charles II. These priceless symbols of the monarchy, St. Edward's crown, the sovereign scepter, the orb, were all kept in the Tower of London. You'd think security would be intense, but it really wasn't. The jewels were in a basement room in the Martin Tower, behind a simple metal grille. The keeper of the jewels was a 77-year-old veteran named Talbot Edwards, who lived in the apartment right above the vault. For a small fee, anyone could pop down to see the jewels. This was the opening Blood was looking for. He knew brute force would never work. This had to be a con. So he disguised himself as a clergyman, Parson Blood, and, with a female accomplice playing his wife, started visiting the tower. During one visit, his wife pretended to have a sudden violent stomach ailment. The kind-hearted Talbot Edwards took pity on them and invited them into his private home to let her recover. The trap was set. Over the next few weeks, Parson Blood became a close friend of Edwards and his family. He visited often, slowly earning their trust. He brought Mrs. Edwards a gift of fine gloves. Then he delivered his masterstroke. He told Edwards he had a rich single nephew who was looking for a wife and proposed a match with Edwards' own daughter. Edwards was thrilled. A dinner was set for the two families to meet and finalize the arrangement. The date was May 9, 1671. In reality, it was the day of the heist. Chapter 4. The Day of the Robbery. On the morning of May 9th, Colonel Blood showed up at the tower, not with a nephew, but with his crew, his son, his brother-in-law, and another man. They had daggers and pistols hidden under their clothes. Blood told Talbot Edwards that his friends were eager to see the jewels while they waited for dinner. The old man, completely unsuspecting, was happy to show his new friend the vault. The second that basement door was closed, the act was over. Blood and his men attacked the 77-year-old keeper, smashing him with a mallet and stabbing him. They gagged him, left him for dead, and turned to the jewels. They ripped the grill away. What happened next was a frantic, almost comical scene of destruction. St. Edward's crown was too big to hide, so Blood just hammered it flat with the mallet and stuffed the mangled gold into a bag. His brother-in-law grabbed the sovereign's orb and shoved it down his trousers. The royal scepter was too long to fit in their bag, so they actually started trying to saw the thing in half. It was right then that their luck finally ran out. According to some accounts, Edward's son, a soldier who had been away, just happened to return for a surprise visit. More likely, the old keeper himself regained consciousness and started shouting, "Treason! Murder!" An alarm was raised. Blood's lookout yelled a warning, and the thieves knew the game was up. They dropped the scepter and ran for it. They fired their pistols and got past the first few guards, but their escape was clumsy. Weighed down by a flattened crown, Colonel Blood was tackled to the ground. As the priceless, mangled treasure spilled onto the cobblestones, he defiantly shouted, "It was a gallant attempt, however unsuccessful." Chapter 5: The King and the Colonel. Caught inside the Tower of London, Blood and his men were facing a horrific end, being hanged, drawn and quartered for high treason. But Colonel Blood had one more card up his sleeve. From his cell, he made an incredible demand. He refused to talk to anyone but the king himself. Even more incredibly, King Charles II agreed. The king, fascinated by this character, had the captured traitor brought to the palace. So there was Thomas Blood, in chains, standing before the very man whose crown he had just tried to steal. What followed was one of the most bizarre interviews in history. Blood wasn't sorry at all. He was bold, charming, and utterly defiant. He owned up to the heist, to the plot against the Duke of Ormond, and then casually informed the king that the crown jewels, valued at £100,000, were in his expert opinion worth no more than $6,000. Then, he looked the king straight in the eye and confessed he'd once planned to shoot him while the king was bathing in the river, but stopped himself, overcome by an awe of majesty. King Charles, a man famous for his love of wit and audacity, was completely captivated by Blood's nerve. The king asked him, "What if I should give you your life?" Without missing a beat, Blood shot back, "I would endeavor to deserve it, sire." Conclusion: the royal reward and the lingering mystery. To the absolute astonishment of his entire court, King Charles II gave Thomas Blood a full and unconditional pardon. But it gets weirder. The king didn't just spare his life. He rewarded him. Blood got his Irish lands back and was given a royal pension of £500 a year, a fortune, back then. He became a familiar face at court. Meanwhile, the brave old keeper he almost murdered, Talbot Edwards, got a tiny reward that was never fully paid. He died a few years later, his health shattered by the attack. So the question that everyone has asked for centuries is, why? Why on earth would a king reward the man who tried to rob him? Some think Charles, the merry monarch, was just genuinely amused by Blood's sheer guts. Others think the king was scared that if he executed Blood, his secret network of followers would rise up in rebellion. But the most popular theory is that Charles saw an opportunity. It's an early version of how modern tech companies sometimes reward hackers who discover security holes in their systems. It's better to pay the person who found the weakness to help you fix it than to punish them and risk someone else exploiting it later. A man as clever and daring as Blood was far more useful as a royal spy than as a head on a spike. Thomas Blood died peacefully in his bed in 1680, but his reputation as a trickster was so great that the authorities actually dug up his body just to make sure he hadn't faked his own death to get out of debt. After the heist, security for the crown jewels was massively upgraded, and in the 350 years since, no one has ever been bold enough to repeat Colonel Blood's gallant attempt. What do you think was the real reason for the king's pardon? Was it amusement, fear, or a brilliant political move? Let us know your theory in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story of one of history's most charismatic criminals, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more tales of audacious heists and unbelievable histories.